And so we'll go through how to set up and then do inspections using the HIP mobile, as well as how to configure everything. So the Home Inspector Pro Mobile is an add-on for used in addition to the Home Inspector Pro desktop program. The mobile version runs on Windows or Mac. Sorry, Home Inspector Pro Mobile runs on Android, iPhone, or iPad devices, and it's used for when you're in the field collecting your narratives and comments, photos, videos. You can do your annotation of the photos and basically do all the actions with the photos while you're there, and then reviewing that with clients on site. The actual report is generated on your Windows or Mac computer, and so the mobile device is just for collection and review. It does transfer back to the desktop to actually complete the report itself. The mobile is licensed just like the desktop is licensed to you as an inspector, not to a specific device. So you can use it on as many devices as you have available. And we actually usually recommend inspectors have the software on more than one device. It's because stuff happens. And you want to make sure that you can continue on with an inspection should something happen to your primary device. So for the actual setup, there's some introduction setup that needs to be done on the desktop side, and then you're able to do your inspections. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you have any questions as we're going through, just let me know. Oh, share. So the actual Home Inspector Pro program, you customize the templates that are used for the for use on the mobile is done on the desktop side. And the mobile uses the same templates that are customized on the desktop, and the inspections are based on the templates that you've created. So if you've created templates you're going to be using on the desktop side, I'm going to go ahead and open up I'll go ahead and open up one of my default templates. You would go through and customize your template to reflect how you have your inspections structured, as well as the narratives and other things that are associated with that template. So first off, you would need to make sure you're logged into the Home Inspector Pro cloud service. And you'll see this at the bottom. It'll say you're either connected to HIP Cloud or HIP Office. If not, you can go to the internet menu and go to HIP login. And this is where you'd enter in your Home Inspector Pro username and password. And this is the same username and password that will be used on your mobile device as well as is used on the desktop side as well. So once you have your templates saved and customized on the desktop, you would then upload those templates to the cloud. And you're able to, all the interactions with the mobile version are done through the mobile sync button in the toolbar. And so we can click on mobile sync. And this window is divided up into two parts. On the left-hand side, you have the options for uploading your templates. On the right-hand side is where you download inspections that have been completed on the mobile device. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the synchronization between the desktop and mobile is one way only. You can start an inspection on the mobile device and then upload it to the cloud and download it to the desktop to finish it. Or you can start an inspection on the desktop and then you would finish it on the desktop. There's not currently a way to take an inspection that you've already started on the desktop and push it to the mobile. So it starts on the mobile and comes back. Now, there are ways to merge inspections together. So you could do a part of the inspection on the desktop side, do part of the inspection on the mobile, and then once you synchronize the mobile inspection back down to the desktop, you can combine those two into one inspection using the merge functionality. So that is one way if you want to do that. So to upload your template to the cloud, on the left-hand side, you can click on Upload Template. And go ahead and pick the one I'm working with. And it then uploads to the cloud. Now, if you have uploaded a template previously, and now you go and make changes to your template, whatever those changes are, you can then go and upload that template to the cloud again. And it doesn't require that you delete the existing template from the cloud. It will just overwrite it with the most recent version. Nick, the question was, how do you combine an inspection if another inspector did, say, the exterior? I will get to that here in a little bit. So if you click on view templates, this shows you any of the templates you already have in the cloud. And it shows you when they were last updated. So you would be able to tell when the last time you actually updated a specific inspection. So it has the one I did today is listed here, as well as any previous templates. And you can delete templates from the cloud by checking the delete checkbox and then clicking on delete from cloud. And so if you are versioning your templates in any way where like you put the date or maybe a version number at the end of your templates, you may build up additional templates there and you may want to clean them up every once in a while, but there's no requirement to go through and delete those regularly. So once we have uploaded the template to the cloud, we'll then go to our mobile device. And so if you have not already installed the HIP mobile on your device, you would you can go to the Google Play Store and search for Home Inspector Pro, and you would have the app available there. If you're using an Android or an iPhone or an iPad device, you would go to the App Store and search for Home Inspector Pro. It's the same idea. Once you've installed the application, you can go to the HIP Mobile, and this is going to bring up the HIP mobile application. Now, the use of the Android device versus using iPad or iPhone, the applications are generally basically identical. The big difference you're going to see between the two of them is on the Inspect tab, whereas on the Android, I have the 5 buttons across the top and across the bottom. On the iPhone or iPad, they're both at the bottom. But otherwise, generally, they're basically identical. So on the Sync tab, we have the location where you can put in your username and password. You know, if you're just installing this brand new, it'll say app trial. You can delete out the trial login there and put in your username and password and hit login. And once you log in, you're going to have your template listed here and all the templates that you've uploaded to the cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my template, and then I can hit download. And this downloads the inspection to the device. Now, just like if you have updated the template from the desktop to the cloud, and you upload a newer one, you don't have to delete the existing template from your mobile device if there's an updated version. If I were to download this again, it just says it exists and asks me if I want to overwrite it. Now, when you're actually doing an inspection in the field, generally you don't need to have an actual data connection while you're doing an inspection. The only time you actually need a data connection generally is when you're downloading a template from the cloud or uploading your completed inspection. And so a lot of guys will just upload their inspections when they get back to the office, or when they're say doing lunch or wherever, they'll be at McDonald's or Starbucks or Walmart or wherever it is, and upload using mobile hotspots. So when you're actually in the field, you generally don't need a connection because you guys are usually going places where you may not have a data connection. Now, there are some exceptions to that, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So the next step is we go to the Manage tab. And the Manage tab is where you go and actually create and manage the inspections that are on your device. At the top, we have the template we're going to use. And so to create the inspection, we enter in a name. So I'll go ahead and enter in maybe the client's last name. So you put in the client's last name, the address, or an ID number, just some way that you can identify who the client is. And then click on Create. And that creates the inspection and takes us to the Inspect tab. Now, before we actually do the inspection, I'm going to go to the Client Info tab. And this is where you enter in the client information. And this corresponds to what you see on the Client Info on the desktop side. The same information is available here. And if you enter the information on your mobile device, when the inspection comes back to the desktop, that information will be populated. Now, a lot of people don't bother to put the client information on the mobile device because really you're the only person who's going to see it. And so, and sometimes people find it's just easier to do it on the desktop after the fact. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. You do have the option at the top. You see buttons for import from ISN and import from HIP Office. Whichever system you're using, you can import the client data on the screen, so it's available on your device. So I'm going to hit import from HIP Office. And I don't have any orders. So if you did have those, they would be listed. And again, you can always do that after the fact. The important thing that you'll probably do on this screen is to put the cover photo. You see where it says put cover photo here. If we tap that, it gives the option to select the where you're going to get the cover photo image from. If you're pulling from the gallery, you may have an image from say Zillow or the MLS or Google Maps, wherever you're going to be getting the image. That allows you to choose an image from your local device. Otherwise, you can click camera, and that allows you to take a picture using the camera. Now, you can't really see from the screen that we're showing, but usually we recommend for the cover photo that you have the cover photo horizontal or landscape. The reason for that is because your cover page is probably going to be more suited for using a horizontal or landscape photo that's going to best fit the page. Unless you have a specific reason for taking a vertical cover photo, like you're doing townhouses or row houses, things like that, where it's actually vertical, it's best to do it landscape. So I can then accept that photo, and that's going to be placed as the cover photo. I can then go to the Inspect tab, and you'll notice as we're going through it, it may be quicker than you can see on over the remote session, that the box pops up as you move through different sections of the inspection. That is the inspection saving automatically. You don't have to actively save your inspections. It does that automatically as you move through it. That's just by design with most mobile applications, is they are saved as you go through. So on this screen, one thing to take a look at, you'll notice across the top, there's this slider. This allows you to control the size of the font as things appear in your template. And this applies template wide of what's going to show. So once you set that, it'll set the zoom of the images that are showing there. Also to the right of that, there's a globe looking icon. And if you tap on that, this is a global search throughout your template. So if I start searching for, say, crack and hit search, it's going to show me all the instances of where it finds the word crack in, or variations of that within the template. And you'll see at the top, it has where it says DP, which stands for damage panel, and then the location, so structure, and then the structure tab. If I keep going down, there's the foundation. And this allows me to actually select comments without being in a specific section. I can tap to include it in the body or the summary or neither. You can also click on the camera icon to take a photo, and that'll apply that photo in that section where you are and where that comment is located. So it doesn't require that you be in a specific section to add the comment in. You can choose it from this section and just automatically apply it. That way, if you're not in a given section, you come across it, you can search and it'll appear there. Now, in my list of sections here, I can go into any given section and say, for example, grounds and lot, and go to driveway and walkway. And at the top, I have a search. And so just like the global search, I can start typing in to look for any given comment. So I started typing cracks, and it shows me all the comments that match that criteria. So if there are specific comments you're looking for, you can start typing those in. There is also a global search in this window as well. And so you can click on the globe looking icon and search for a given comment. Below that, it has the ratings, which gives me the overall condition of this section or subsection. So under the driveway and walkway, there are some safety issues. I can note the materials, which are the selection panels. It's tap once to include it in the report, tap it again to unselect it. I'm gonna go ahead and pick that one. So asphalt driveway, gravel sidewalk, and I can always click on the pencil icon if I want to add something to that. And keep in mind is that the changes that I make when I'm in an inspection only apply for the inspection I'm working on. So if I make changes to the comments that are here, these are not going to affect other inspections that are occurring in other that occur on this device. It's just for this inspection. So I can keep scrolling down. Then I get to my conditions. And so to include something in the report, I can tap on it once to include it in the body, a second time to include it in the summary, and a third time to unselect it. So that's in the body, twice in the summary. And there are comments that have the little paper looking icon. That is for a list. And so I can click on the pencil icon and it pops up a selector at the bottom so I can choose which comments I want to, or which entries in the dropdown I want to choose from. And so I can choose one or more entries and hit save, and it applies that text in there. And if there's an entry that doesn't apply, you can always backspace the text that's there and apply it. Now, if there are comments that are not in the list that you need to add in, or if you need to modify the comments, we can click on the pencil icon at the bottom, and this allows us to just type in whatever comments we want. And you can type them in, or you can click on the microphone icon and dictate in any comments specific to what you're working with for this specific instance, period. And a lot of people find that using the voice to text is much easier than trying to type it out in the field. And the voice to text has gotten very, very good on devices in the last 3 to 4 years. So you can use it in even very loud situations. Unless you have a very bad speech impediment or drawl, it's going to be able to handle the voice to text very easy. Now, after I entered that text in, there's multiple panels here, so it's asking me which one should that go into. So I'm going to put in the driveway and walkway condition, and you'll notice it has it marked to include in the body. I can tap it again to include in the summary. Now, as I go through, so I'm done with my driveway walkway section. If I wanted to move on to the section like grading, I could go back and then go to grading and then work on this. But one of the options as well is when you're in the driveway and walkway section, at the bottom, you'll notice there's arrows for right and left at the bottom. So I can hit on right, and that just goes to the next subsection. So if you have your tabs ordered to reflect the actual process of you see that you go through for every inspection, you'll be able to just go through each one and do them as they apply. So that was fine. Then we can go to the next one, go to vegetation, it's acceptable. We can do that one, and so go through each one. Now, as I'm going through here, I can click on the camera icon, and that launches the Home Inspector Pro camera. And so what this allows us to do is you can take pictures, and again, with the photos, we usually recommend that you take the photos horizontally, not vertically, unless you have a specific reason for taking vertical photos. And the primary reason for this is when you're actually doing your report, if you are consistent about how the photos are taken to being landscape in most cases, it's recommended just to make the most use of the space on the page. Because if you have two, you have like a horizontal photo and a vertical photo, you're going to end up with photos next to each other where there's this empty area at the top. And so you end up having a lot more white space if you have them that way. Whereas if you have them just side by side, they'll just go down the pages in a row. So, and consistency also makes for a better looking report in general. But if you have specific situations where a vertical photo is appropriate, such as like you're following like a gutter downspout or a leak going down a wall, that's appropriate for taking a vertical photo. So I took my photo, and the first thing that comes up is it allows me to then annotate this photo. And so I can draw on the image using my finger. You can also change the shapes. So do a circle, and I want a red circle. And I can draw that shape there. Now at the top, there is an option to add text. And so I'm going to put in some example text. And you can change the size, also the color of it. So this is let's see, text color is going to be black on a white background. And you can set those defaults for these colors. And I'll show you that here in a moment. But so I can put my text, just specify where I want it to appear, and then hit done. Now, excuse me. Now, one caveat with entering text on the actual photos, we recommend you limit or use it very sparingly the amount of text that is actually applied on the images themselves. Use it for things like labeling a specific item in a image. Don't use it to put in like full captions or comments. There's a couple reasons for that. One is that the photos may be resized depending on the viewing of the inspection by the customer. There's functionality in the latest version where if you tap on a photo in the report, it actually expands to fill the page so that you can see the larger size images. This text is actually drawn on the image. It's actually part of the image. So it's not like text where it's a line drawing, it's an actual picture. And so if, unless you have like very heavy bold font, when the text gets resized, it may start to get pixelated and distorted and may not be as readable. The other is you may have customers who are visually impaired or blind. And generally, customers who have those conditions are going to be using a screen reader to actually read the report. And computers generally, unless you specifically say this image contains text, look for text, computers and a screen reader is going to say, this is an image. I don't know what it is. It's an image. And so if you have longer text on an image, your customers who can't see it and are using a screen reader aren't going to see it. And so we usually recommend just use it for labels where you're actually labeling items in the image, and then use the caption feature to actually put in a longer description, because that's going to be actual text on the page. At the bottom, you then have 3 buttons. The first one is to retake the photo. The second one is to accept the photo. And the third one is to accept and retake the photo. And so the accept and retake allows you to take multiple sequential photos without having to back out of the camera app and come back in, hit the camera app, wait for it to launch, take the photo, accept, and then be backed out. It allows you to take multiple photos with 2 clicks. And so this can be helpful, especially if you're taking, some guys will take photos of each of the walls in rooms that they enter in. And so that you can just take a photo of one wall, accept and retake, wall 2, accept and retake, wall 3. I'm going to go ahead and accept. Oh, the icons on the left, that's just the application that I'm using to view my mobile device. So you can ignore those. Because this is actually, I'm viewing it this way, so I don't have to sit here and hold my phone in front of the screen. So after I accept the photo, it then allows me to add a caption. And so I can tap there, and I can either choose from the comments that are I've already selected, either as red or black. If I have predefined captions that are in this subsection, those captions would be available to choose from without doing anything else. Or I can pick a caption, and this allows me to just type in a caption on my own. Not a picture of a tree, period. And so that allows me to caption the photo. And at this point, I'm done with this photo. It's inserted into the vegetation section, as you see it across the top. It's annotated, it's captioned, and I don't have to touch it again. If I wanted to, I can hit the pencil icon and I can make additional changes to this photo, but it's done. Now, one of the things that is helpful in this section is, and an example that sometimes works is, say you're in the bathroom section of your inspection, and you see some cracks in the shower, in the tub, and you're down there and you're taking pictures of the tub. Or say, for example, in this is I'm taking pictures of the heavy root growth, and I see there's the main gas valve is right there. So how can I go back to photos already taken? So when I'm in my list of comments, there's the folder looking icon at the bottom. This will take me to any of the photos that I have here. So say, for example, I'm taking a picture of the root damage and the main gas valve is right there. I could back out of the section and go to the main gas valve and then take the photo and go through that. And then I'd have to go back to vegetation and go back to my photos and continue on. One thing you could do, though, is when you're in any of the gallery sections, I can just hit the camera icon and say, for example, this is a picture of the gas valve. I can accept that photo. Caption, main gas valve location, period. And so I can then actually double tap on this image, and it allows me to move this photo to somewhere else. So I could then move this photo to main gas valve and hit save, and it's moved that photo to where it was. So I don't have to keep jumping back and forth to place those photos. I can just take the photo, move to that location, and then continue on with what I was doing. That way you can get more stuff done without having to jump back and forth throughout the template. Now, when you're in this section, you could also take video, and video is forced to landscape. Well, that's weird. This is the first time I'm using this display. So the video is limited to 30 seconds. And we've looked at analytics for people, customers actually viewing videos. Rarely do people go beyond 10 seconds. And usually you want to limit your videos for the most effective use to about 5 or 10 seconds. And for the things that it's really helpful to have video, such as like testing burners, testing pumps and jacuzzi tubs, ceiling fans are a good one. It's an extreme value because if they can take a video of the fan swinging wildly, they can take that to a professional, and the professional is going to be able to say, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what that is," versus just showing a picture of a fan. The value there is extreme, but they don't need to sit there and watch it for 2 minutes. So keep in mind as well, video includes audio. And so when we first introduced that, we had guys who were doing crawl space crawls, and they didn't realize that it was recording them grunting and swearing as they're crawling underneath the house. So just keep that in mind when that there is video audio recorded while you're taking the video, and you can caption the video, and you can move it just like a photo. You can move it to a different location. The icon that looks like two pieces of paper, that allows you to add photos from your local device. And this allows you to actually add multiple photos. Yeah, where did it go? I have too many photos on my device. So I'm going to just say those ones are good. And it adds those photos. So you can add multiple photos from that source. If you have external sources of images like thermal cameras, just a digital camera, drones, the way they connect and interact with devices varies depending on the manufacturer and the models. Some of them do allow you to add images directly from the device via Bluetooth. And so if you're using, say, a drone that is supported by Bluetooth, it'll appear just as another source of photos. And so you can, and usually if that's the case, you would click on the portrait option, and you would then be able to choose another source where you could actually add in photos directly from that third party source. Same thing with like Dropbox is listed here. I have my OneDrive. There are other places where you can add photos that are external to your device, and you can do that by clicking on the one that looks like a portrait. So you have multiple options here for adding your photos, and of course you can always do them after the fact back on the desktop. Okay. So I go back to my comments. And like I said, if you click on the folder looking icon, that opens up the gallery. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, and you'll notice the first three options that I have here are grayed out. That's because I have visited those sections and I have done something. So in the driveway walkway, I entered in a rating, noted the materials, noted the condition. Same thing with the grading. Vegetation, I added photos as well. If you're using ratings, the only thing you have to do when you go visit a subsection is a rating at a minimum. If you're not using the ratings, so here I have to pick one of those 5 ratings because I have ratings enabled. If you're not using ratings, literally all you have to do is visit a section and it's going to gray it out. And that indicates that you have completed that section. And this is a way that you can just keep track of what you have and have not done. Now, there may be sections that don't apply. Say, for example, this house doesn't have sprinklers. I'm not going to do anything with the sprinklers. You can tap and hold on any subsection and click on the option for mark complete, and that's going to mark it as complete. So that way, you know that you've completed that. Once you have visited all the subsections within a section, and it's not going to do it here because I haven't done all of them, then the overall section is going to be grayed out. So grounds and lots will be grayed out. If there are sections you're going to be not doing, say, for example, this house doesn't have a pool, tap and hold on it, mark it as completed, and it'll be marked as complete. But this way you can keep track of what you have and have not done as you're going through the inspection. Now, as part of your template, we usually recommend that people don't create templates that have, say, like 6 bathrooms, 6 bedrooms, a dining room, living room, family room, den, every variation of possible rooms, because it ends up creating a template that is huge, and it also creates a longer term maintenance issue, because if you add a comment to one, you have to add in that comment to every section. A good example is like bedrooms. Guys will go in and they'll have 6 bedrooms, house has 5 bedrooms. And say, for example, you're starting to notice in the inspections, every carpet has cigarette burns for some reason. If you add that comment to the first one, you need to remember to add that through bedrooms 2 through 6. And so that adds just you have to remember that, otherwise you're going to spend time searching for it, expecting it to be there. You don't find it, you have to add it, and it just makes more for you to do in the long term. So we recommend people have a generic of like a bathroom, a bedroom, and an interior areas. And then what happens is when you start your inspection, you can come in here, and if you tap and hold on any section here, it gives you the option to copy or duplicate those rooms. So for example, bedrooms, I can then do bedroom 2, and then it gives you the option for copy without selections or copy with selections. If you do, say for example, you make note of the materials that are in rooms, and all of the rooms in this house have popcorn ceilings, carpet, wainscoting, all of that type of stuff. You could go in the bedroom section and specify all those materials. And then when you go to duplicate, if you do copy with selections, it's going to create a duplicate of that room with those items already selected. If you do copy without selections, it's just going to duplicate the room and nothing's going to be predefined. But so I duplicated without selections. So do it again. So I could do bedroom 3, copy without selections. And then for bathroom, I can tap and do powder room.
So if you were going to do a copy with selections, could you give an example of how you would use that?
So like I said, it's, say for example, every room had those materials. You would go into like the bedroom and ceilings, and you would mark the materials as popcorn ceilings. You'd go to floors, mark it as carpet, and then when you come back out and you copy with selections, in the bedroom 2 that you copied with the selections, it would already have popcorn ceilings selected. It would already have carpet selected. So it would copy over the things that are already selected in that given room, and that way you would only have to then go in and note the deficiencies. Whereas if you do copy without selections, it's going to just be a room with nothing pre-selected. So do powder room, copy without selections, and so now I have my rooms there. And so this way you're just duplicating out what's needed for this actual inspection. And often what people do in their template is they'll rename bathroom and bedroom to like master bathroom and master bedroom, because every house has a minimum of one of both. And that way they're only having to maintain those 2 rooms. They know exactly what comments are there because they are all going to be identical when you duplicate them. And you only duplicate out what you actually need instead of worrying about including or excluding a given section. So in the long run, it saves quite a bit of time, because, and what a lot of guys will do is at the beginning of the day, say they have 3 inspections, they'll create each of their inspections, go through and define the rooms, and then when they show up on site to give an inspection, they'll open up that inspection and they're good to go. Or guys will wait till they show up and they'll just create their inspection, duplicate out the rooms that they need, and then get to work. Usually once you get in the habit of it, it takes like 1 to 2 minutes to just go through and duplicate out what you need. Okay, so once you go through and you've completed your inspection and of the stuff that you're collecting on site, oh, and I forgot to mention at the bottom, when you're in just the inspect tab, you do have the option. There's the camera and video and the add photos window here. If you were to take a photo outside of a given section, so I'm going to take a photo here just in the inspect tab. This is taking that photo, and you'll see at the top it says miscellaneous. This is just for additional photos that don't have a specific location where they're assigned. You could take a photo when you're just standing here, just like anywhere else, double tap and move it to where it should go. Otherwise, you could just have these for CYA photos of just for reference. You have those photos in place. Same thing for the film, same thing for other photos you add in. But once you go through and you've collected all your information, you'll see in the bottom left, there's a button for that looks like a piece of paper. And that piece of paper is for a summary. And so this gives you a list that shows you all the photos that you've taken and all the comments that you've marked to be included in the summary of the report. And so this can be a review for yourself. You can always click on the pencil icon or tap to add the caption, or double tap. You can edit the photos and make changes here. This also allows you to review to make sure that you have everything in place. This is also intended so you can review with customers. If you tap on the photo, it's going to open up a slideshow that allows you to, come on, there we go. It opens up a slideshow where it shows the photo and the caption, and you can swipe left or right to go through each of the photos and review those with customers. You can also click on show all at the top, and this shows you all the comments you've entered in. you can see a full review of all the comments you've made. So once you have finished the inspection and say, for example, you're back at the office, you can go to the sync tab. You can then upload that inspection to the cloud by clicking on upload, and it allows you to select that inspection, and it then uploads it to the cloud. Now, once it's uploaded to the cloud, you can then go to the mobile sync in the toolbar, go to download inspection, and you'll see it has that inspection listed there. So I can click on the download icon, and this saves it to the client data folder. So I can hit save, and it goes through and saves that inspection. And depending on the number of photos, it can take a little bit longer. But once it finishes, you can hit OK. Click on close at the bottom. And then we can go to open inspection and open up that inspection. And then you can make any changes, review it, make sure it's 100%, and then send it off. And like I said, you can always import the data from ISN or HIP Office after the fact by going to import from HIP Office, import, and then get ready and send it off. So back on the mobile device, though, a couple things to take a look at. One is under the Manage tab, you have the available templates and everything. At the bottom, you have the option for available inspections. And say, for example, you like to get all your inspections created at the beginning of the day. You have 3 inspections that day. You could go through and create inspection number 1, and you'll see it says at the top, current inspection. It tells us what inspection you're on. You could then come back to the Manage tab, create inspection number 2, inspection number 3. Then when you show up on site, you can click on open at the bottom and switch to a different inspection. And then this, you'll see it updated the current inspection at the top, and then you can continue on with that inspection. You don't need to specifically close the inspection. You just switch between the current inspection because it's saving automatically. One of the other things you have is if you go to options, you can go through and you can delete out inspections by tapping on one or multiple inspections and clicking on delete selected, and that allows you to delete the inspections off your device. You can also delete all. It's there we go. Took a second for it to delete. One of the other things you can do here is if you it's weird. If you tap and hold on an inspection, it gives you the options to you can rename an inspection while you're in here, but you also have the option to copy an inspection, and that will actually create a duplicate of the current inspection that you have selected. And this can be helpful, especially if you're doing if you have to do a re-inspection and you want to maintain the original copy of the first inspection, you can duplicate it for a re-inspection. It'll have all the contents already there. This can also be helpful, though, if you're doing multi-unit inspections like duplexes, triplexes, whatever it is. Just like with copying a section, you could go in and create like 123 Main Street, Unit 1. Go into that, and if you know, say it's a triplex, and you know each of the units is identical for materials and things like that, you could create Unit 1, populate all those common things between all of the units, and then come back here and duplicate it or copy it and create Unit 2 and Unit 3. And that way you have all the common items already predefined. You just then have to note the deficiencies between each of them and what may be different. So you can save some time in that way. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the deleting the inspections off your mobile, once you have uploaded your inspection to the cloud and downloaded it to your desktop, the inspection on your mobile device is a partial. It's not the completed inspection. You may have changes that you make when you review. You may have additional content that you added on there, but the inspection on your mobile device is a partial. And so in the grand scheme of things, space is cheap, but for organization purposes, we usually recommend people get in the habit of, like, every week or every other week, go through and review your inspections and delete out the inspections that you've completed. This just frees up space on your device, but it also makes your list of inspections manageable. A couple months ago, we were actually at a conference, and had a guy come and say, my mobile device keeps locking up whenever I try to create inspections. It turns out he had over 1,000 inspections on his device because he had been using the mobile for like 4 or 5 years and never deleted an inspection. And so it was literally having to parse through 1,000 inspections every time he tried to do something. So it's not because of space, but just organization. It's good to get in the habit of clearing these things out. And what guys will do is they'll go through their inspections that they've sent off to customers and say, yep, that one's done, delete it off here. That one's done, delete it off here. The other place you may want to get in the habit of doing this and maybe do it at the same time is on the mobile sync screen where you go to download inspections. We've had guys who've used the mobile version for about 8 years, and they have literally never deleted an inspection from here. And just like on the mobile, these are partials because these are the ones that are coming from the mobile device. And it slows it down when this screen comes up because it's just having to parse through the list. But we don't have a specific limit on space or number of inspections, and we've never purged them before. But we've had guys, we actually had to modify the client info screen because we had guys who they would be scrolling through there and they would accidentally scroll and they were hitting the year, and they'd actually as scrolling through they would accidentally bump their inspection back to 2017, and they would upload their inspection and then they would call us because they'd be freaking out because they can't find their inspection in the download screen because they have it sorted by date inspected, and so they have to scroll back 4 years back to a previous inspection. We find it for them and point this out. So we modified it so it only does 1 year forward and back. But it's one of those things is it's good to get in the habit of just maintaining some cleanliness to your data within the inspections. So Nick had asked is, so if you have another inspector who's doing part of the inspection, how do you merge those together? So one way you can do that, so you would have, say you have your inspection that you downloaded. So I open up my inspection. So this one here. And the other inspector sends you their HCF file. So that's the inspection file. When you go to open inspection, they would send that file to you and they could send it via email or share it via Dropbox or however they do it. Once you have your inspection open, I'm gonna go ahead and import my data from HIP Office again. So I have some client data and import. You can then go to file and import/merge another inspection. And this is then going to ask you, where is that other inspection? And so I can select the inspection from the other inspector, and it's going to merge those together. And if you guys are using the same template, that is the ideal way. They don't have to be the same, but it is ideal to have the templates the same. If they don't match exactly, there may be sections that don't match. So this one has different names of bedrooms and bathrooms. They're going to go under a menu titled Merged Inspection 1. You can then go to Edit Template and drag those into wherever they go. So master bathroom, master bedroom, you can merge them in and move them into place. Or you can always just, some people, they'll just rename it so that they have this, so it has a different name. But that way it merges those two inspections into one. Yes, and I will. I'll be getting back to that in a second, because this is leading somewhere. So the question was, can you demonstrate the procedure for reviewing the on-scene inspection? So that way you can merge two inspections into one. One thing we recommend with merging the inspections. So I had my original inspection that I created, and I merged another inspection into it. When you go to save the inspection, don't save the inspection under the original name of the first file. Change it in some way. Some people put like final or merged or some way like that. So that way you have the two original parts and you don't override the original parts, because stuff happens, and the merge generally, like 95-98% of the time, it works perfectly. There's that 2% chances that something could be hanky, is just with how people do stuff. So it's good, just for safety's sake, not to overwrite the original. Save it under a third file name. And you can merge any number of files together. We have a guy in Hawaii that uses the software where he installs the inspects these giant properties. And he had a property that had, he was doing roof inspections, and there were 20 buildings. And he had guys on each one of them, and they merged them all together into one giant report. Each guy was doing like 2 or 3 roofs. And so they all came together in like, but it was 6 or 7 different inspections. So that said, you could do the merges that way. And just to go back to what Nick was asking, So for the inspection you're working on, which inspection do I have open? Oh, this is great. Okay. So when you're on the inspection, in inspection under the inspect tab, you can click on the paper looking icon. And this opens up the summary. You can review all of the individual comments. And if you tap on any of the photos, this opens up a slideshow, and it has the picture with the caption, and you can slide left or right to review the photos on the inspection and review it with the customer. You can also make changes by clicking on the pencil icon or double tapping on the caption. There we go. And allows you to make changes to the captions while you're in there.
Okay, I didn't
Now-
add anything in Word comments. So when I do this review, all I'm seeing is pictures. But if I added Word comments, they would show up as well.
Correct. And so under the summary, by default, it's just going to be the comments that are summary comments, the ones that you've double tapped twice. If you click on show all in the upper right hand corner, it's also going to show your body comments as well. So it allows you to see limited to one or both.
Yeah, I don't have a show all
Oh,
on the iPad.
oh, okay. Yeah, it should be there. That's weird. I'll have to take a look at that because yeah, it's supposed to be, that should be there. But so in addition to doing your standalone inspections and doing the summary on here, you do also have the option, and you may need to, if you don't see this option where it says start HIP client / team inspection. If you're not seeing that option, you can go to the settings tab and scroll to the very bottom. There's an option there for enable beta functions. This is currently in beta testing. It's actually been in testing for over 1.5 years. We're getting ready to release it because it's been thoroughly tested for quite a while. We just wanted to make sure it was 100% before we released it. If you enable beta features and then save, you'll have the option here for start HIP client / team inspection. And what that allows you to do is so 3 Bake Street. So instead of clicking create, I click on start HIP client / team inspection, and this creates a session and it gives me a 5-letter ID number. And so what I can do, and the one caveat is this does require a data connection when you're in the field. And so this allows, though, for you to have more than one person working collaboratively on one inspection. And so your other inspectors, so F3EEX, when they come into the HIP mobile, they can click on join team inspection. Why do I not have that? That's weird. Oh, because I don't have the beta features enabled. Save. So now they have the option for join team inspection, and it's not going to let me because I created this session, but they can enter in that same session ID, and you see it at the top where it says current session ID. They can join that same session that's already in process, and it will download all the inspections that they have done on their device. It'll also, any changes that they make will also be visible to you. And so it live syncs in the field while you're doing the inspection. And so you can have any number of people working on the same inspection. And once you close down the team inspection, it then just becomes back to being a regular inspection, but it has the data from all the different devices in one.
Are you saying that each inspector is going to have the complete data when they do that?
Correct. But usually you would have whoever is the primary is going to be the person who actually is going to be generating the report, because you would only want one report coming out of that. And so that can allow you to be a team of inspectors, but you can also be a team of one. So say, for example, a lot of people don't pay attention to the fact on your iPads don't have a camera flash on them. Only the iPad Pro does. And so if you're in a location where you're going to need supplementary light, you're going to have to use a flashlight or something to add in light. Yes, it works as if it's just one. The team inspections, will the items continue to be grayed out upon their completion? Yeah, it's treated just like a normal inspection. So as sections are completed, they'll gray out. As photos are taken, and say we've had guys do that, is where one guy is doing the exterior, one guy's doing the interior. They both take a photo of the window from both sides, and they both see the images from each other. And what a lot of guys will do is they'll put like a mobile hotspot in the center of the property because they don't want to pay for cell coverage for like 3 or 4 guys. they all just connect to a mobile hotspot and it syncs that way. So you may want to use your iPad for doing your internal things like the kitchen, the cabinets, bathrooms, all that type of stuff. But for doing like crawl spaces and attics, you may want to use your phone. You can do the same sort of thing, is start the inspection, the team inspection on your iPad, on your phone, join that team inspection with that 5-digit ID, go into the smaller spaces and take those photos, and they're going to automatically be merged together. The other huge benefit with this is, aside from the Hit Mobile, there's a separate app in the App Store titled the Home Inspector Pro Client Presentation app. And what this does is this takes that same 5-digit ID number and it allows you to, so let's see, F3EEX, start client presentation. And there's probably no data in there. Yeah, I haven't done anything. So it says waiting for information. So if I go into the Hit Mobile, and actually I'm going to go to the client info screen, and I put a cover photo, take it from the camera, take a picture of my coffee cup, accept that. And this allows, so once I come in here, you'll see it automatically updates with the cover photo. What this allows you to do is you could set up in like the kitchen, you could set up like a iPad or a Chromebook, or we've had people with like the 32-inch Chromecast TVs. They'll set that up in the kitchen, give the people a pad of paper and a pencil and some popcorn, and say, hey, follow along on this screen, take notes, and when we're done, I'll review this and I can ask you any questions. And this will keep people from following you up ladders into attics, any other places, because they're able to watch as it occurs. They see the photos and the captions as it's going across, and so they're able to actively see what's happening and not need to follow you around. Yeah, I can ask some answer some questions after. So that has a huge benefit, but the other benefit of this as well is if you have customers who are not in state or not in the country, you can send them a link to the app in the App Store and give them the 5-digit ID number, and they can follow along live while it's happening. Or after the fact, you can schedule a time with them where you can go through and review this through the client presentation app, and they're able to see just these items without having to be present. So it gives you the options to have additional display without having to rely on, say, your iPad, or if you do all your inspections on your cell phone. The cell phone is not the great place to do review of inspections compared to actually doing it on a larger screen device. So those two work together, and then it comes together as one standalone app. So I'm going to go to close down that inspection, say yes. So in addition to the team inspections, let's go take a look at the settings tab. Now at the top under the settings, you have your ISN login information if you're using ISN, and then you have some settings that allow you to change the defaults that are on your mobile device, such as when you single click or double click on items, the defaults for editing your photos and everything like that. Keep in mind these settings are specific to the device you're on. So if you change the default photo edit color here on your iPad, and it's not going to change it on your cell phone because these settings are local to the device. Once we go further down, there's a couple options here for photo quality. And one thing to pay attention to is you'll see the option here for HIP camera. And what the HIP camera is for is we have developed as part of the Home Inspector Pro mobile program, we have our own camera application that we developed. Because one of the problems is with Android devices, there are literally thousands of Android devices because they're made by any number of manufacturers and they have any number of models of them. And even with the iPads and iPhones, there are, I think now they're up to like 30, 35 different devices, and each device has a different camera settings based on the generation of the device and just the options that are available. And so when we're developing an application, if we are relying on the camera app that's built into the device, we have to basically target the lowest common denominator for features that are available. And it also limits the control we have over the camera. So the HIP, if you enable the HIP camera, that is a camera app that allows us to target to the features that are available on the devices and allows us to have more control. One of those is the option for the quick retakes. So we're able to just take multiple cameras because we're controlling the camera app. but also it allows us to have more control over the shutter speed and the flash and those type of things. It comes down to personal preference, which one you want to use. We usually recommend people try the hip camera and see if it works. If they don't like it, turn it off. One of the options with the hip camera, though, is you have the default resolution for hip camera. And so this actually allows us to define explicitly what resolution the photos are going to be taken at. And so this also allows us to select the resolution and the ratio or the aspect ratio. So whether it's going to be 16:9, which if you're taking landscape is going to be shorter and wider, versus 4:3, which is going to be more rectangular. 4:3 is closer to the classic 35mm prints. 16:9 is what you recognize as like the high definition. On iPhones and iPads, they don't give us the specific resolution, but you can change the orientation, whether it's going to be 16:9, 4:3, or they do offer a 1:1, which is actually square images. We usually recommend for the photos do either the 4:3 or the 1:1. That's going to fit most appropriately on a page. And especially if you do a lot of vertical if you do vertical photos, the 16:9 uses a huge amount of space because it's going to be really tall and really narrow. But it's up to you. There's also the default photo quality. And the default photo quality allows you to specify the quality of the images that are taken with your hip mobile. Now, we usually recommend people start off on photo quality 3. The reason for this is a lot of guys will be like, well, I want photo quality 5. I want the highest quality photos in your reports. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but if you take the highest possible resolution images being included in the reports, it resizes them down to a very small size to be thumbnails in the report. If you take the iPhone 13s take 48 megapixel photos, and if you compare that to what's the thumbnails that are in the reports, those are 0.7 megapixel images. And so what happens is if you take a very giant image, 48 megapixels is literally doing a giant digital quality photo quality print that's a giant poster size. And so if you're taking that giant size and resizing it down to a small part, you are going to be losing a lot of quality because it has to remove a lot of pieces of information to make it fit down there. And so if you're taking giant photo sizes and reducing them down, the quality actually gets much worse when it gets resized. And so we usually recommend people try photo quality 3. That way you're taking a mid-range size, and the quality is going to be much better when it gets resized down. The other reason with the photo quality we recommend going for the mid-range is processing of photos takes time because the processor in your device has to take the time to resize those down. It also takes battery life because doing a lot of computational processing on an image works the processor harder, which means that the processor is using more energy, which means your battery is going to go dead more quickly. And it just generally slows things down for no particular reason because you're going to be losing quality. So it's trial and error, see what works best for you, but we recommend you start off with 3. And then if you are on the Android, we usually recommend you go for one of the lower ends, maybe like the 1920 by 1080, or even maybe the 1280 by 960, because you'll still have a very high quality image. It's just going to be more manageable, but it'll still look very, very good in your reports. The other thing to take a look at here, there is the option here for save full-size images. And the save full-size images, what that does is, in addition to the photos that are taken within the Home Inspector Pro and inserted into your report that are scaled and resized for use in your reports, the save full-size images takes the raw image from the camera and saves it to your camera roll. It saves it to the gallery on your device in a separate folder, and it's the unresized direct image that's coming from there. There are guys who want to do post-processing on their images. You may want to just have CYA photos and have the originals for that purpose, for having the full resolution photos. That gives you that ability. The one big caveat to using the save full-size images, make sure that you are clearing your photos off regularly, because if you're literally doing, say, 10, 12, 15 inspections a week or more, you may be taking literally 1,000 or more high quality photos during the course of the week. Doesn't matter how much storage space you have, you're going to run out of storage space very quickly. because you're taking a ton of high resolution photos. And the last thing you want to do is not back up your photos for like 2 weeks and then middle of inspection run out of space. So we recommend, guys, if you are using the full-size images, clear off your photos regularly to make sure that there's plenty of free space. Then there are some other options that allows you to control, like whether you want to use the advanced colors or multiple summaries within your reports, how your captions and notes are going to appear. And then at the bottom, we have the beta features and advanced tools. And after you make your changes, click on save. So with the mobile, we do get guys who ask is like, what devices do we recommend? One is like Android versus iPhone and iPads. It comes out of personal preference. They work basically the same. It's just whatever you prefer. You can use any combination of the two. They're all 100% compatible by design. You can use any combination of Android, Windows, Mac, and iPhones. They're all the same for that. The one thing to pay attention to with your mobile devices, though, is we recommend that guys, one, there's no need to get the top of the line brand new phone because you guys beat the hell out of phones and equipment because you're going awful places to do your jobs. And there's no, especially for the most recent devices, you're not gaining a lot by having the latest and greatest. One of the best options is actually buy the previous year's model because it has more than the features you're going to need, but it's going to be noticeably cheaper. The one thing we do recommend guys do is replace your phones often. If not every year, replace them every 18 months. And it's less having to do with the features of your device, but it's the battery life. You guys use phones and mobile devices more than the average user and more than the devices they're designed for. And the constant draining of the battery and reloading of it, you're going to wear out the condition of your battery very quickly. And it becomes noticeable after a short period of time how much the batteries are worn out in your devices. That's actually the first thing that's going to wear out on your device. And so since it's business equipment, it's stuff you're using all day, every day, it's worth replacing it, if not every year, every 18 months. And like I said, don't go with the latest and greatest. Go with the a year-old model or something like that, because you're getting all the functionality, but at a lesser price. For actual devices, we don't necessarily recommend you get the name brand devices. There are a lot of generic and cheaper models that work great. The one thing that comes into play for those devices is there's nothing wrong with them, but it's harder and more expensive to find accessories for them. You're going to want to have a good sturdy case on your device, maybe have it so it has a hand strap or anything like that. You'll want to protect the device because of where you guys go. And accessories for those devices are going to be more expensive and less able to be found. And one thing you can do is don't buy the accessories from like the carrier store or from Best Buy or places like that. The best thing to do is actually go on eBay and search for the model of your phone, and you will find tons and tons and tons of accessories for your device for a quarter of what you would be paying for at the major stores, because it's just like anything else that's mass manufactured. The stuff you're buying from OtterBox at like the Verizon store is made in the same factory as the generic ones. They're all made at a plant in China where they do injection molding. So you can literally get it for a quarter of the price for all of your devices than having to pay a higher price for those. But you'll find more of them for brand name devices versus some generic phone. So that about does it. Are any questions? Okay. So Pierre, you had some questions?
Yeah, they were not directly related to the mobile. They were more for desktop questions.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, okay. In both the mobile